Chapter 38. The Dream Beneath the Silence. The ride back from Miss Gooby's house was filled with the kind of quiet only worn-out legends can afford. No chatter, just the rhythm of the road beneath the tires and the occasional snap of a candy bar wrapper as Morris downed a celebratory chocolate for not dying on the moon. By the time they reached the curb outside Mark's home, the sun was already peeking over the rooftops like it, too, had stayed up all night waiting for the next move in the story. Morris walked up to the door with Mark, duffel bag slung over one shoulder, and rang the bell. Miss Gooby tagged along, now in a hoodie with a retro spaceship stitched across the front, looking more like a cool cousin than the science teacher of two undercover moonwalkers. Jasmine answered first. Morris grinned. Mission accomplished. Comic-Con was cosmic. Mark helped me run the booth, and we even got a visit from a guy who swears he's seen every episode of Voyager 9 times. Joe appeared behind her, rubbing sleep from his eyes. Was it worth all the classroom you missed? Mark nodded. Absolutely. Learned more about deep space narratives than I could ever fit into an essay. Before Joe could interrogate further, Miss Gooby stepped forward, hand extended. I'm Margaret Gooby, Mark's science teacher, also a big sci-fi nerd. I tagged along to make sure these two didn't trade schoolwork for stormtrooper blasters. Joe raised an eyebrow, then slowly smiled. He noticed the way Morris glanced at her just a little too long, how Miss Gooby's smile lingered a beat when she caught Morris's eyes. He said nothing, but in his mind, this was a subplot worth watching. Later that day, the house was alive with laughter, clattering dice, and groans of betrayal as the Monopoly marathon began. Mark coached Martha through her first just visiting encounter, while Miss Gooby taught her how to mortgage properties with a sly wink. Always keep a hotel near the orange squares. Mia managed the bank with infallible precision, and Morris somehow landed in jail 4 times, but insisted it was strategic. For one night, they weren't a secret task force racing to stop ancient beacons from tearing open time. They were a family, and it was beautiful. The dream that night, Mark slept deeply, too deeply. And in his dreams, he drifted. Above cities, through memory, into places where sound wasn't carried on air, but on intention. And there he saw Elgin, in a vault of his own, snow and steel and whispers of machines older than language. His hands touched a sphere of ice, his mouth moved without sound. But Mark heard it anyway. I will not be kept out again. The true gate is beneath the ice. And he who carries the mark, he will not stop me. Mark's hand burned. The glyph flared, green and then white. He gasped awake, sweat soaking the collar of his shirt, moonlight pouring through his window like a warning. The parking lot, next morning. The air was crisp. Birds chirped. Normality buzzed faintly around the school grounds, but Mark's stomach churned with urgency. He caught sight of Miss Gooby's Prius. "Miss Gooby!" he called. She turned, still sipping her morning coffee, and waved. Mark jogged to her side just as Morris pulled up with Mia in the passenger seat. The timing, like everything else lately, was cosmic. He looked them all dead in the eyes. "I saw him," he said. "In my dream. Elgin. The name of the guy that have been on to us is Elgin. He's still trying, somewhere buried in snow. And I think the glyph changed me. I think I'm starting to connect to the gates, astrally, telepathically. I don't even know the word for it." Mia studied him. "You were tethered to the vault. Now it's echoing." Miss Gooby tightened her grip on her coffee cup. "Elgin's not stopping." Morris nodded, the smirk gone from his face. "Then neither are we." They stood in the parking lot, sunlight creeping past the trees, realization sinking in. They weren't done. And this time, the chase was on. The Pact. The bell rang, scattering students into a blur of backpacks and sneakers. But Mark, Mia, Morris, and Miss Gooby lingered in the shadow of the school's parking lot, their circle tight and faces set with purpose. Mark looked each of them in the eye. "We fought, flown, and moonhopped together. But if Elgin's after something bigger, something older, we can't afford to hesitate. We need to find him. Today." Miss Gooby nodded, her jaw tight. He's after more than power. If he's heading to Antarctica, he's not just opening a gate. He's unlocking something older, something placed there before even the first one sealed the vault. Mia's voice was low. Something called the Crown. Morris raised his hand between them all. Then let's make a pact right now. After school, we meet at the shop. No distractions. We track Elgin. We follow the echo, and we shut it down. They each placed their hand over Morris's, forming a crooked, sincere tower of resolve in the sunlight. The Musketeers +2, Mark said with a grin. All for one, Miss Gooby replied, and one for the timeline. That afternoon, the comic shop. The windows were darkened. A closed for inventory sign hung on the door. And downstairs, beneath racks of rare issues and Silver Age superhero posters, the war room came back to life. Mia fired up the portal log. Last known signal puts Elgin south of the Palmer Archipelago, but the pulse he triggered didn't match the moon's resonance. It's older, darker. Miss Gooby zoomed in on the map. There's a glacial fault line here, beneath what used to be an impact crater, and a black site facility listed only in NASA's deep archives. No name, no code, just a nickname. She turned the laptop. Project Crown. Morris rubbed his temples. He's not just opening a gate. He's looking for control, authority that predates planets, something that commands. Mark's glyph pulsed. We get there before he does. Mia nodded. We prepare tonight. We leave tomorrow. And in the low hum of machines and the flickering glyphs on the map, the truth began to sharpen like a blade. Because Antarctica didn't just hold ice. It held memory. And memory was about to awaken. Penguins, portals, and pep talks. At exactly 6:57 a.m., the lights in Morris's comic shop flickered on like stage lights before an epic finale. Downstairs, the war room hummed to life again. The air smelled faintly of solder, aged ink, and cinnamon Pop-Tarts. On the table, 4 backpacks sat at attention, each sagging slightly under the weight of what could only be described as emergency preparedness, Walmart edition. Morning roll call, with excuses. Morris dialed the school office first, clearing his throat. Yeah, this is Uncle Morris, calling in for Mark Ferris and Mia. Just Mia. Flu symptoms, fever, possibly food poisoning. It's graphic. You don't want the details. Next, Miss Gooby phoned in with alarming conviction. Yes, this is Margaret Gooby. I regret to inform you I've come down with case of food poisoning due to a bad burrito. I'll be home resting for the next 2 days. Thank you for understanding. Mission status, unaccounted for, academically excused. The Walmart hall. They emptied the bags onto the table. Morris brought a stack of thermal socks, a ridiculously oversized parka with a faux fur hood. Wampa-proof. Beef jerky, 3 packs of hand warmers, a deck of Uno cards, and one of those hand-crank emergency radios that doubles as a flashlight, and, for reasons unclear, a dog whistle. Mark had packed instant noodles, chemical heat packs, heavy-duty gloves, duct tape, a travel mug of cocoa, strategic morale fuel, and a flashlight shaped like a lightsaber. Mia contributed an electric heating blanket, modified for fusion cell extension, snow goggles with mirrored visors, a thermal map of Antarctica printed on waterproof film, and what she described as a recalibrated satellite frequency scrambler built from an old George Foreman grill. Miss Gooby set down wool hats for everyone, including one with knitted alien antennas, basic first aid, granola bars, a laminated penguin fact sheet, and a small journal labeled contingency plans and icebreaker jokes. Together, they divided the items evenly among the backpacks, making adjustments for balance and non-negotiable snacks. The speech as Mia began priming the portal device. Miss Gooby stepped forward. Her breath formed a soft cloud in the early morning chill of the basement. I know we've made light of this, she said, voice steady, of space and moon dust, and now penguins and frostbite. But this, what we're doing, it's big, bigger than we fully grasp. The group quieted. We're chasing a shadow across time, through portals, across ice, into forgotten secrets buried before we were born. And yes, Our jackets were bought on clearance, and our gloves might not be NASA certified. But what is certified is our bond." She paused. "I believe in this team, not because we've been chosen, but because we've chosen each other. So wherever Elgin is, whatever he's waking, he's about to meet 4 very persistent problem solvers with duct tape and a dream." Morris saluted with a granola bar. Mia nodded solemnly. "Let's go do something reckless and righteous." Mark grinned and held out his hand. The others joined him. The portal flared to life. Next stop, Antarctica, and the truth beneath the ice. Chapter 39, The Crown Below. As they step through the portal onto the frozen surface of Antarctica, the wind hits like a wall, cold, sharp, ancient. They're not alone. Something hums beneath the glacier. A rhythm, a pulse. Not seismic, something older. As they trek toward the buried facility marked in Mia's satellite scan, they discover remnants of a forgotten expedition, one not in any history books. Abandoned tents, frozen journals sealed in ice, footage carved into analog film reels, showing explorers opening something they shouldn't have. Inside the black site, beneath layers of frost-bitten corridors and rooms filled with obsolete technology humming faintly, they find it. A chamber made entirely of glyphs, walls etched in languages layered like sediment. And at the center, hovering inches above a column of black crystal, is the crown of command. But it's not a crown in the royal sense. It's a conduit, a device capable of synchronizing all gates, overriding all fail-safes. And it's alive. It pulses when Mark enters the room. Because his glyph isn't just access, it's a tether. But here's the twist. The vault opens, not to a weapon, not to an alien city, but to a being. Not alive in the traditional sense, not robotic. A synthesis, a sentience grown from the gate system itself, forged to guard the crown. It's been waiting not for conquest, but for questioning. It doesn't attack, it asks. Testing them with psychological prompts, illusions, and fragmented visions of timelines that could happen depending on who claims the crown. Morris is tested with a vision where he could have been a famous inventor, but alone. Miss Gooby sees a future where she became a NASA director, but Earth lost contact with the moon. Mia faces a simulation where she chooses to reveal her identity to the world, and it fractures alliances across planets. And Mark, he sees the Earth, burning, the vaults shattered, the crown in Elgin's hand. And in another timeline, he sees himself wearing the crown, worshipped like a god, alone. This isn't just about stopping Elgin anymore. It's about understanding the cost of control. Suddenly, a second portal cracks open across the room. Elgin steps through, and he's changed. More than human, less than alien. His eyes hold starlight. His voice is threaded with feedback. He's already touched a different gate. He knows more, and he wants the crown. What follows is not just a battle of strength, but of choice. Because the crown doesn't obey force, it obeys intent, and it begins reading all of them. And it sees doubt, hope, fear, power, trust. Mark must choose. Take the crown, and risk becoming what Elgin has, something unrooted from time, or use it once, to seal all gates forever. One chance, one truth, one voice. The team around him, their hands on his shoulders, their memories interwoven. And the crown waits. Mark's palm glows the moment they get close. Just as they navigate these illusions, Elgin steps closer, unrecognizable. Part biological, part gate tech, dripping with static and starlight. He doesn't fight with fists. He tries to persuade, seduce, manipulate. His argument is simple. Why seal power when you could wield it? Why hide the truth when you could be it? The final choice falls to Mark. Crown or no crown? Rewrite the system, or trust that Earth isn't ready for the full truth yet? What if he chooses neither? What if he rewrites the crown? Not as a weapon, but a key that requires consensus, unity, 4 minds together, always. Something no villain can ever wear alone. That would be the way to flip the story. Make it not about who holds power, but who's worthy to share it. Elgin Voss walks to the group and stops 5 feet away from them. And for a breathless second, he just stood there, letting the frost cling to the folds of his long midnight blue coat. His boots left no footprints. His eyes shimmered like cracked starlight. He looked part man, part conduit. His voice, when it came, was calm, almost gentle. Finally, we meet. The team shifted into defensive posture instinctively. Mark felt the glyph on his hand flare. Mia's fingers twitched toward her device. Morris took a step between them all. Elgin raised a hand, open palm, unarmed. I'm not here to fight. Not yet, anyway. Mark's voice cut through the cold. You've been following us, interfering, inverting glyphs, trying to open what should stay locked. I was trying, Elgin said, to understand. And now, I think you deserve to understand me. He stepped closer, past the rim of the frost halo cast by the chamber lights. My name is Elgin Voss. I am from a distant galaxy you haven't discovered yet. I have been on this planet for a long time, serving my kind as a sentinel, guarding a secret that shall never escape. His gaze drifted to the glyph in Mark's hand. The room felt colder, or perhaps deeper. Elgin's voice dropped. They weren't built for us, but they're listening for us. And now, one has marked you. He looked directly at Mark. You think I'm trying to wake something dangerous? I'm not. I'm trying to finish what was started before your species ever looked up. I'm trying to keep locked an unspeakable evil. Mia stepped forward. At what cost? Elgin smiled faintly. At whatever the truth demands. He turned, looking at the pedestal where the crown now hovered, dimly pulsing, aware. You want to stop me. I respect that. But the crown doesn't respond to fear. It listens to clarity. He rested a single gloved hand near the artifact. So here's your choice. Try to stop me, or ask the crown yourself what it was meant to control. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was ancient, and it was waiting. Hands upon the crown. The crown hovered in the icy chamber like a thought left unfinished, faceted like black glass, humming with a resonance that made the air feel thick and time feel slower. Its pulse wasn't light but meaning, not sound, but summons. Mark approached first. His glowing glyph seemed to beckon it. He raised his hand, fingers trembling with awe, fear, gravity, and placed it gently against the surface of the artifact. Nothing, not even a flicker. The crown did not move. He stepped back, stunned. Mia stepped forward next. Maybe it's seeking resonance, she said calmly, and touched the opposite side. Still nothing. Not a vibration, not a shift. Morris frowned. All right, make room for the emotional glue of the team. He placed his hand near theirs, warm, calloused, human. Silence. Then Miss Guby, without a word, stepped forward. She didn't ask permission. She simply laid her hand across the curve of the crown, aligning her fingers with the etched spiral of one of the glyphs. And then it happened. A surge of light burst outward, not upward but inward. Glyphs on the walls ignited in sequence. The floor trembled like a great beast shifting in its sleep, and above them the crown broke apart, not in destruction, but in transformation. It split into 4 arcs of light, spiraling, seeking, binding to each of their hands with a whisper only each of them could hear. Unity accepts, authority denied, power must be shared. Elgin stepped forward, eyes wide. No, that's not how the crown works. That's not what it was designed for. Mia turned to him, voice quiet and final. You misunderstood it. The crown was never meant for one voice. It was a lock, Miss Guby added, for the kind of ambition that walks alone. Mark looked down at his hand, no longer glowing, but warm, calm. It's not a weapon, he said. It's a safeguard. And now, we're its stewards. Together. The chamber responded. The pedestal folded into the floor. The walls began to dim, and above them, a panel opened in the ceiling of ice. revealing the star-strewn sky of Antarctica, wind howling softly like a lullaby to forgotten legacies. Elgin stood frozen, not with fear, but with something like revelation and defeat. He turned to them, smaller somehow, more human. "I thought I could command it," he whispered. Morris stepped beside him. "You can still be part of it, Elgin, but you've got to stop chasing thrones." The silence that followed felt sacred, and then the portal flared open behind them. The mission was done, but their story just beginning. Because the crown hadn't granted them control, it had granted them responsibility, and the galaxies would never be the same.